Butler, Pennsylvania. Was it staged? Before I get into that, I want to say this at the top, and I'm going to say it at the bottom of the story because I do not want anyone confused about what I am telling you. I am not going to tell you that Butler was staged. I'm not going to make that claim. I am not going to feed you a conspiracy theory. I will wait for evidence. Because look, something real happened on July 13th in 2024. A firefighter named Corey Comparatori died. He threw himself over his family. 2 other people wounded. Real people, real hurt. That part, it's not disputed. I'm not your conspiracy theory guy. I don't want to be your conspiracy theory guy. But this video is me telling you what MAGA is saying. Because, and I cannot believe that I am saying this, MAGA is saying this. Look, Wired started reporting and CNN followed up by dropping reports this last week that the MAGA influencer class, the people who campaigned for Donald Trump, the people who helped build his MAGA movement, are now, in April of 2026, openly pushing the theory that what happened at Butler was staged. Tim Dillon, the podcaster who helped Trump shore up the young male vote in 2024, on his podcast, said to Trump, and I'm quoting him here once and just once, I hope I never quote him again, "Just admit you staged it in Butler." Tucker Carlson, he's opened that door on his own show. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's opened that door. The people who literally built the stage for MAGA are now this month insisting that the stage in Butler, Pennsylvania was in fact a stage. And now, before I go any further, I'm going to be honest with you because I owe you that. I'm a guy with 2 eyes. I have seen what you've seen. I've seen the video that makes the rounds of the photographers being ushered into specific positions in the moments before the incident. I saw that. It's strange. I'm not going to pretend like it didn't happen. And I'll say this for the record. Ear cartilage doesn't grow back. If a wound opens on a human ear, it stays, well, wounded. There's a scar, there's a deformity. The scar doesn't heal into nothing inside a few weeks. Those are observations I've made, and they're observations I know you've made. And I'm telling you I've made them because I'm not going to sit here and gaslight you about the things you saw with your own eyes. That's the administration's job. But, and this is a big but, I am not going to go down the rabbit hole. I refuse. Because at the bottom of that rabbit hole, a firefighter did not really die. And I'm not going to disrespect the Comparatori family by acting like his family's grief was theater. I'm going to keep my questions to myself, and I'm going to let you form your educated opinions the same way I have, with the evidence that's available. And I keep pointing, as I've been pointing for months, at the widow who is still waiting for a phone call from Donald Trump or any of his lackeys to sympathize for the loss of her husband. That's where I am on this. I will let MAGA's own conspiracy people take this conspiracy as far as they want. I'm simply going to wait for more evidence. But think about what is real here. Because the expert CNN spoke with, a film professor at Northwestern who stages and recreates shootings for a living, said pulling off what is being suggested at a live event in the round with journalists, phone cameras, and thousands of witnesses would have been basically impossible. You cannot coordinate that many moving pieces in a live event without one person breaking the story within 48 hours. Something happened. Corey Comparatori really died. So why are Tucker, Tim, and Marjorie saying all this? 2 words: the attention economy. Whitney Phillips, a University of Oregon professor of information politics, told CNN the answer is basically about metrics. Influencer culture is metrics driven. Hell, we survive on metrics. We just choose to base it in fact. And I'm not always right. And I hope that you call me out on it when I'm not. But I'm telling you, conspiracy content, it performs. The algorithm rewards chaos. And the story that pays is the one that tells the audience what they want to hear next. And again, I've got suspicions. I've got doubts. But what these thirsty folks, these former MAGA folks are doing, it's attention theater. And what their audience wants to hear is a bigger story than the one Trump sold them. Think about where MAGA started. Stolen elections, the deep state, the witch hunt. Every outside villain, one by one, has been used up. They no longer exist because it doesn't rage bait like it used to. So the pressure on the guys with the microphones is to escalate, to find the next conspiracy. And the next conspiracy in this attention economy market has to be bigger than the last one. And a bigger conspiracy than what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania in 2024 is Donald Trump having set up what happened at Butler in 2024. It's the only direction the market is giving these guys to grow. But the real story here is that now, instead of these conspiracy theories propping Trump up, they're casting doubt. That's the real story that we can see with our own eyes right now. They no longer buy his BS. But they're not going to risk calling out all of his policy positions. No, that would be too real. Instead, they simply follow and amplify the doubts, the rumors, the suspicions. And here's the thing that people miss about these conspiracy movements. They don't ever stop. They can't stop. They eat. They eat and eat and eat like the hungry caterpillar. And when they run out of outside villains, they start looking at each other. Happens every time in history. The John Birch Society ate itself. QAnon turned on Trump. Every grievance-based movement that runs on attention economics eventually consumes the guy at the top of it, because the guy at the top of it stops being the victim and becomes the newest mystery to solve. MAGA is at that point right now. Tim Dillon didn't wake up a progressive in April. He didn't find Trump/Jesus. He did the math on what pulls more downloads. Tucker Carlson, who's lost ground to Pete Hegseth of all people, is looking around for a bigger audience and deciding that the next play is to question his own side's mythology. And MTG, we've seen her spending months publicly fighting Donald Trump over things like the Iranian war, is suddenly, this last week, wondering if maybe the guy she fought for staged his own martyrdom movement. You are watching a cult dissolve in real time. But while all of that is happening, Helen Compertori is still sitting in Pennsylvania waiting for a phone call. The widow of that firefighter, Corey, the one actual real person who died, is still waiting. Months later, for the kind of sit-down or at least phone call any decent administration would have given her in week one. $7 million from strangers on GoFundMe, 0 calls from the White House. And now, on top of the silence, on top of the missing accountability, the movement her husband's memory was used to fundraise off of is this month publicly pitching his death as part of performance art. She's still waiting, while they are still doing that. And these two stories, they stack on top of each other. On one side, you've got the MAGA influencer class openly turning on their own leader with the exact tools, the exact conspiracy tools he taught them to use. On the other side, the family of the one real person who lost their life. And they still have seen no accountability, no federal phone call, no meaningful conversation with the government that let it happen. And I'm not going to get into their politics. Politics should not cost you your life. And I will say what I said at the top of this story one more time because it matters. I'm not going to tell you that Butler, Pennsylvania was staged. I've got my own observations. I've got my own questions. I've got my own suspicions. And that's where I will stop. That line right there. But what I am telling you is that MAGA is telling you that it was staged. The people Donald Trump bought with tax cuts, cabinet seats, and podcast traffic, are openly on their own shows suggesting that their guy scammed them, while a real victim's family sits at home. Those are the facts. You can take those as you find them. And I'm going to let MAGA do the talking from here on the conspiracy. I've said what I'm going to say, and that's all I am saying until I see more evidence. And if you are someone who looks for evidence when everybody else is out there spouting conspiracies, do me a favor. Hit the like button. Leave me a comment, because that is how channels like us stay alive.